Hi, this is Marty from Photoshop Arthouse. Today, I'm going to show you how to add any pattern onto clothing. I provided this image for your convenience. Its link is in my video's description or project files. Feel free to use another photo if you like. Just make sure the color of the clothing is solid. In other words, there shouldn't be any patterns on it. Before we can place the pattern onto the clothing, we need to make it white. The first step is to make a selection of the clothing we want to apply the pattern to. There are many ways to make selections. However, for this example, open the Object Selection tool and hover it over the dress. It'll immediately turn pink. Click it to make a selection of its shape. If there are areas of the selection that went beyond the dress or missed sections of it, open the Quick Selection tool and make its radius anywhere between 2 and 4 pixels. Press Ctrl or Command Z to open the Zoom tool. Then drag it over your image. To remove areas of the selection outside the dress, press and hold Alt or Option as you drag the Quick Selection tool over those areas. To add selections it may have missed, just drag the tool over them without pressing Alt or Option. To see your entire image, press Ctrl or Command 0. Click the Adjustment Layer icon and select Hue Saturation. Photoshop will automatically create a layer mask based on our current selection, placing it next to the adjustment layer. This mask restricts the adjustment to the white area, while the black area remains unaffected. Remember, in layer masks, white reveals and black conceals. Photoshop recently introduced color circles to help with targeted color adjustments. Since the dress is red, we can either click the red color circle or use the Targeted Adjustment tool. If you're using the tool, click directly on the dress to isolate its red tones. You'll notice that the range sliders now compress into the red portion of the color spectrum. Drag the saturation slider all the way to the left and the lightness slider all the way to the right. Next, open the Adjustments panel. If it's not visible, go to Window and Adjustments. Click on Single Adjustments, then select Levels. Before adjusting the levels, note that adjustment layers affect all layers beneath them in the Layers panel. If we want the adjustment layer to affect only the one layer below it, we need to clip it. To do this, click the Clipping Mask icon or go to Layer and create Clipping Mask. For this image, drag the input white level to 173 and the output black level to 98. If you're working with a different color, feel free to adjust these levels as needed. Before we add a pattern, we'll create a displacement map of the dress, which will make the pattern look as if it's wrapping itself around the contours of the dress. Since displacement maps look best when they're slightly blurred, we'll make a composite snapshot of our image by pressing Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E on Windows or Command-Option-Shift-E on a Mac. Go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. Blur it 2 pixels. Go to File and save a copy. Save it to your desktop for quick access and name it Displacement Map. Save it as a Photoshop PSD file, then click Save. If you see this message, just click OK. Now that we saved it, we can delete the composite snapshot by pressing the Delete key on our keyboard. Open a pattern you'd like to place into the dress. For your convenience, I provided this one. Its link is in my video's description or project files. To place it onto the dress, press Ctrl or Command A to select it, and Ctrl or Command C to copy it. Open the other document and press Ctrl or Command V to paste it in. To resize and reposition it, first reduce its opacity so we can see the dress under it. Open the Transform tool by pressing Ctrl or Command T. Go to a corner and press and hold Alt or Option as you drag it out or in. To reposition it, just drag it. Make sure the pattern covers the entire dress. Then press Enter or Return. Increase its opacity back to 100%. We'll convert the pattern into a smart object so we can modify it non-destructively. Click the icon at the upper right and click Convert to Smart Object. Clip it to the dress and change its blend mode to multiply. Next, we'll apply the displacement map to the pattern. Go to Filter, Distort, and Displace. Displace the horizontal and vertical scales 10 pixels, stretch to fit, and wrap around. Click the Displacement Map PSD file you saved earlier and click Open. Note that the pattern is wrapping itself around the folds of the dress. Next, we'll blend in the highlights of the dress and then punch up the tones. Double-click an empty area of the pattern to open the Layer Style window. We'll use Blend If to blend the pattern into the dress. Blend If uses the luminosity of layers to blend them together. The current layer is the active layer, which in our case is the pattern, and the underlying layer represents all the layers below the active layer, which includes the white dress. By dragging the current layer's dark slider to the right, it reveals the dress through the darkest tones of the pattern. Conversely, by dragging the current layer's light slider to the left, it reveals the dress through the lightest tones of the pattern. When we drag the underlying layer's dark slider to the right, it reveals the darkest tones of the dress through the pattern. When we drag its light slider to the left, it reveals the lightest tones of the dress through the pattern. We can make the transition smooth by placing our cursor in the middle of the slider and pressing Alt or Option as we click it. This splits the slider in half. By dragging the inside half across, it smooths out the transition. For this image, drag the inside half to 224. It looks great right now. However, if we want to punch up its tones, press Ctrl or Command J to make a copy of the pattern layer and clip it to the dress. Then open its Layer Style window and drag the underlying layer's light slider anywhere between 75 to 80. This is Marty from Photoshop Arthouse. Please click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.